Wow, I just interviewed Dr. Greg and Mick. I learned so much about the use of hydrogen gas and Alzheimer's, brain fog, other neurologic and brain conditions. I'm extremely optimistic after talking to both of them, and I think if you watch this through to the end, you will be too. So this is an episode, if you want to prevent disease or try to reverse brain disease, you definitely want to watch this episode of Alzheimer's Breakthrough with Dr. Josh. Peace and plants. Welcome back to Alzheimer's Breakthrough with Dr. Josh. I'm Dr. Josh, and on this podcast, we explore the most promising frontiers in brain health, longevity, and dementia reversal. Today, I'm joined by two innovators in the hydrogen health space, Dr. Greg Carder and Mick Emandi, co-founders of HydroHeal. They've been pioneering new ways to harness molecular hydrogen as a therapeutic, whether it's inhaled, dissolved in water, or delivered in other cutting-edge forms. Together, they are working to bring the simple yet powerful gas into mainstream clinical use. Dr. Greg Carder has a background in health technology, athletic performance, and product innovation. With over 2 decades in the wellness industry, he has focused on bridging science with practical tools for recovery and performance. At HydroHeal, Greg is helping lead the charge in making molecular hydrogen accessible for therapeutic use with an emphasis on clinical applications for inflammation, oxidative stress, and neurologic health. Mick Emandi brings a blend of engineering and medical technology expertise. His career is centered on creating devices that deliver measurable impact in patient health and wellness. At HydroHeal, Mick has been instrumental in translating the science of hydrogen into user-friendly, reliable delivery systems with special attention to safety, scalability, and potential applications in neurodegenerative diseases. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It's Dr. Josh with Alzheimer's Breakthrough. And what if one of the simplest molecules in the universe, specifically hydrogen or H2, could hold the key to protecting and restoring our brains? Today, we're going to explore how hydrogen gas might transform the fight against Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. And in a first, this is my first episode where I'm interviewing more than one person. I've got a team here. I've got a team here from HydroHeal. Actually, I've got Dr. Greg Carder, who I've literally known for over 20 years. And I've got Mick Emandi. They are both brilliant experts on hydrogen and hydrogen gas and using it for Alzheimer's and other brain disorders for prevention and reversal. So I'm really excited to have them both here today. And let's just start with the basics. What exactly is molecular hydrogen, and why in the world would it be biologically active?
Well, it turns out that molecular hydrogen is the smallest molecule in the universe. And when our bodies were designed or created, there's significant evidence to show that molecular hydrogen plays an integral role in energy production down at the level of the mitochondria, or our body's engines, right, which are creating people fuel called ATP. Okay. And so these mitochondria, they're creating ATP out of oxygen and out of glucose, right? And they're combining those together and fat, and they're giving us people fuel. And the question that I ask when I give my talks, usually to doctors, is, well, if our fuel, if they're creating our fuel, ATP, what's their fuel? And usually I'm met with crickets. And it's not surprising, because the last time any of us looked at mitochondria was probably 7th grade. Okay. And the reality is this, okay? These mitochondria, which are little space aliens, meaning they have their own DNA separate from us. They're their own entities. We're in a symbiotic relationship with them. They're just kind of like, freeloading on us, and we're freeloading off of their energy production. They're living inside of us, and they're giving us energy, right? And so by introducing elevated doses of molecular hydrogen, we're doing a number of amazing things. But the first thing that's important to these little aliens, these mitochondria, is we're giving them the high octane superfuel that they are starving for so that they can create the high octane superfuel of people. And while that's happening, while they're creating amazing amounts of fuel for us because we're giving them amazing amounts of fuel for them, they're also reducing inflammation by mitigating something called reactive oxygen species and oxidative stress, which we can get into. And that's kind of a nutshell encapsulated version of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's a great start. And what would make molecular hydrogen H2 uniquely suitable compared to traditional antioxidant therapies that some of the listeners may have heard of?
So fundamentally, like many of us, I went to school in the dark ages of the 20th century when my search engine was the Yellow Pages and the Dewey Decimal System. And in those dark ages, we were told that all reactive oxygen species are bad, and therefore we must carpet bomb the body with broad spectrum antioxidants at this place called Vitamin Shop and look at this wall of confusing colors of alien sounding names. And as a result of that, people just blindly listened to the Good Morning America crowd, and they did that. Mothers of America, seeking to take care of their families, did that. But in 1998, mankind decoded the human genome, and biology transcended from a industrial age technology to a information age technology. And the reason that that's relevant is this, because once a technology passes from an industrial age technology to a digital technology, it doubles every unit of time. In our example, every year, our knowledge of the human body, because DNA became a digital technology, doubled. So by 2015, we had eclipsed our knowledge of biology greater than the dawn of Paleolithic era to present day. And so we discovered that no, not all reactive oxygen species are bad. In fact, the vast majority of these reactive oxygen species are necessary for something called appropriate cellular communication. In other words, our body is relying upon these reactive oxygen species to serve as signals and traffic cops to tell other systems what they're doing so the other systems know what to do, okay? But there's two bad actors, the hydroxyl radical and the peroxynitrate radical. Now, there's no test. You don't have to remember this, okay? We're not doing a quiz at the end, but they're the bad guys. And the reality is this. Unlike broad spectrum antioxidants, molecular hydrogen selectively targets only these two bad guys, leaving the rest of the team that's supposed to be doing a job to do their job. And so you not only power the mitochondria, you not only inhibit reactive oxygen species by selectively targeting the two worst actors, but you enhance cellular signaling so your metabolism is now functioning optimally. This is the most abundant molecule in the known universe. And we're just scratching the surface of it, and it already does all of that. That we did not discover this until 2007 as an accident in Osaka, Japan, at the University of Osaka, with these Japanese PhDs trying to save patients who were suffering from the bends. One enterprising PhD who was utilizing hyperbaric oxygen therapy postulated, just, did as a PhD does. It seems like, looking at the pathways, that if we infuse these patients with molecular hydrogen, it will help. And he was crucified by his peers. And they said, well, you have no evidence of it. And they said, we're a university. We create the evidence. And since then, about 2,700 clinical studies have erupted, showing that he was 100% right.
That's amazing. So this is literally in the last 20 years, less than 20 years ago. How from this early research less than 20 years ago, when did researchers start looking at the brain and Alzheimer's and other inflammatory conditions in the brain? When did this start getting traction?
Well, I would say that it has exploded exponentially since 2007. The first study was published in Nature magazine. Anybody who's anybody in science or medicine knows that is the premier journal to appear in. I mean, you've hit the Grammys or the Academy Awards if you get your paper published there. In 2010, that's exactly what happened. And science exploded in the following main areas of health. Neurological first. Studies are around neurological health, autoimmune, oncology, and some cardiopulmonary studies as well. And that's where the densest studies lie. In addition to what I just mentioned, there's significant evidence to show that by introducing molecular hydrogen to the body at appropriate dose, concentration, and frequency, that along many pathways or biomarkers of aging, which we measure, we can slow, stop, and even in some cases reverse, which I'm particularly interested in because ever since I got into my 60s, my follicles are not folliculating like they used to, and I had a nice head of hair before, and I would like to recapture that.
What are some of the studies so far that have shown an impact on either Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or other brain disorders of molecular hydrogen?
Sure. The best high quality human studies started in 2017. And it progressed through to today. Of course, more studies are emerging every day. Secondary to that, let's talk about Parkinson's, right? A common treatment in Parkinson's would be something like L-Dopa. And we know that over an arc of time, prolonged utilization of L-Dopa will cause something called L-Dopa-induced dyskinesia. When you know that, molecular hydrogen has been shown to completely arrest that. Now, what's really interesting about the Parkinson's studies are that the utilization of appropriate dose, concentration, and frequency of molecular hydrogen has been shown to slow, stop, and reverse degradation of the substantia nigra in those Parkinson's patients because of its direct effect, number one, on the reactive oxygen species, the hydroxyl radical, which is the radical which is attacking the substantia nigra, and number two, by powering the mitochondria of the brain's neurology specifically to rebuild it. Now,
Wow.
if that is not Star Trek 21st century medicine utilizing a common element, I do not know what is.
Right, but let's not over promise. On Star Trek, they would just take their phaser or whatever and wave it over someone, and they were better. I mean, I think the reality is it might actually take 3 months of treatment.
Absolutely, Dr. Helman. Please don't anyone in the audience take away that I am suggesting that a single treatment. What I'm saying is dose, concentration, and frequency, obviously over an arc of time, is what is required. There is no medicine in the molecule. The magic is in the dose, concentration, and frequency over a long enough arc. If that is, does that give you better clarification of what I'm?
Much, much better. Makes a lot of sense. So basically, from what you've said so far, it sounds like the way that this molecular hydrogen is helping with brain function is at the level of mitochondria.
Yes, Dr. Helman. And in fact, it is at the level of mitochondria that molecular hydrogen is powering everything. And if we just stop and think for a moment, what cellular system of relevance is not dependent upon appropriate mitochondrial functioning?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of cells in the body that do not have mitochondria. I mean, one are red blood cells, but there are very few cells that don't need the mitochondria.
Right. So if what we're doing is we are reducing the two main bad actors of inflammatory cytokine production, and if we're supplying power to the engines of our cells and by extension our systems, what we're engaging in again over an arc of time is functional medicine. That, please understand, I am not suggesting that anyone go out and utilize molecular hydrogen as a standalone treatment or substitute for treatment. What I'm suggesting is that as a appropriate adjunct with evidence-based backing, molecular hydrogen stands at the precipice of being an integral component of any provider's well-rounded, well-structured treatment protocol to enhance his patients' lives. That is what I'm suggesting.
That's awesome. So here's kind of an international question. You mentioned that the first research opened up. I think it was in Japan. What countries are you seeing a lot of research and adoption, and what countries do you see less so, and where would you say the United States falls in that continuum?
I would say Japan and quite a bit of Asia, Germany. The United States is lagging, not because we're technologically inept, but because of regulations. I mean, we have a 17-year translational gap here. We are mired by a host of special interests. And I, without sounding like a tinfoil conspiratorialist, I mean, the reality is that if we cannot create a code to bill for it, it's not going to be incorporated into the standard of care. And our patients, have this default insurance-based Stockholm syndrome that if my insurance doesn't cover it, it's not real. Because if it was real, my insurance would cover it. And it underlies a fundamental wave of propaganda that has been waged against our patients, convincing them of that fact, when the reality is that if you separate, managed care medicine or third party payer from functional medicine, which is there's evidence behind it, but it's not reimbursable, then the synergy of where these two meet is where functional medicine lies and integrative medicine lies. And I think that since you and I met 20 years ago, we have been seeking to find that nexus of where appropriate standard of care medicine can be complemented by and supplemented by appropriate evidence-based functional medicine.
I love that. And that basically answers the question, like, if this is really so good for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and other conditions, why have very few people heard about this? But it sounds like because at least in the United States it doesn't fit the traditional care delivery model for medical treatments.
I would agree with that. Go ahead, Mick.
Yes, Dr. Josh. So we had one of our neurologists, Dr. Saeed Assad. He's boarded in traumatic brain injury. He's out of Jacksonville. And we had him present at the American Academy of Neurology. Um, he did a presentation promoting or educating to his peers the benefits of hydrogen therapy for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, and traumatic brain injury. And it was were very, very well received. But physicians typically, when they practice traditional medicine, they have certain protocols they have to follow and medical necessity for everything that they do. And then on top of that, if they deviate from the protocols and they utilize something that's involved with traditional insurance reimbursement, then the insurance companies question it. And if anything does happen, they blame it on the alternative therapies that were utilized, not the traditional therapies that are part of the protocol. So when we're practicing defensive medicine, we kind of go on the direction of let's not get sued.
No, I understand that, but you at the beginning of that you left a little interesting hope because you mentioned that this neurologist is basically researching the use, I think, of hydrogen for head trauma. Is that correct, Mick?
Yeah, it's very amazing. It's quite amazing for head trauma, stroke, also. Yep.
So what I find fascinating in my patients with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, other neurological conditions, often one of the root causes turns out to be prior head trauma. Even if it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. So it's definitely it's encouraging that researchers are also apparently seeing good results after head trauma. Is that your understanding?
Yes, And Dr. Greg can expound on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, mild cognitive impairment as a result of trauma, to the brain is going to create a number of sequelae downstream factors like the aggregation of plaque and things of that nature. And those over a long arc of time, these micro insults eventually are going to reach a tipping point where the subclinical events become clinical events. And so, for that patient, utilization of molecular hydrogen, again, at appropriate dose, concentration, and frequency, can slow that progression. And in some cases, if caught in time, the studies would indicate that it could stop that. Again, and I can't emphasize this enough, you know, studies are emerging every day, and we accept the fact that more studies are needed. The great part about this is that a lot of medicine has reached a turning point where the dogmatic acceptance of, burning bush, Marcus well be us patient has kind of fallen by the wayside for reasons that, you know 2018 BC, before COVID, right? um, I mean, we would have accepted anything from on high, almost, from CDC or NHI, and now, doctors who are taking a more critical thinking approach, and a second look at many of these therapies, including utilization of molecular hydrogen to mitigate downstream toxicity, reactive oxygen species burst, mitochondrial dysfunction, um, myoglial overactivation, things like that. Does that answer your question?
It does, but it brings up the my question, which is, so you've seen good results using molecular hydrogen for different brain disorders, whether it's Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, brain trauma, and many others. Are there any conditions where you would not use hydrogen? Where actually it would make things worse?
I'm currently unaware of a contraindication for molecular hydrogen. The safety profile of molecular hydrogen is astoundingly profound. The body can't overdose on it. You will just simply not absorb it any longer. Our bodies are not PVC pipes, right? They're dynamic machines that are exposed to a tsunami of environmental toxins that they are not designed to deal with, like Bluetooth and EMF, which I am not going to live without, by the way. Okay. So if I'm going to exist in this cloud of neurological electromagnetic frequency disruption, which is clearly affecting my biological neurology, then I must, by extension, utilize strategies like molecular hydrogen therapy to mitigate the effects of these things. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of a neurological toxin called Mountain Dew. Okay. And I don't see myself giving that up anytime soon. I mean, if there was a Mountain Dew stream, I'm building a house next to it. That's how much I love it. And
Do you
so
like the color or the taste or all of it?
I love all of it, buddy. It's just I think, next to coffee, it might be the perfect fuel of freedom.
Oh, wow. Okay, so in terms of natural sources of molecular hydrogen in people, I'm just trying to think from my background. I guess some of us might have bacteria in our gut that produce hydrogen. Is that common? Are there natural sources that people would be exposed to normally of hydrogen gas?
Pre-Diluvian flood, there was greater abundance of hydrogen and other gases available in the atmosphere. But to answer your question directly, when a human being ingests raw organic fiber grown in mineral-dense soil in an unpolluted atmosphere, the fiber from those vegetables interacts with our gut flora and creates molecular hydrogen. Now, look, I think we could probably move the Vilcabamba, Ecuador, on top of the richest vein of Shilajit, and we're not getting nearly the mineral density that our ancestors did when these meat robots, these biological organisms that we're walking around in, were designed. And so I think that mankind in general, especially living in a technological world as we do, we're simply not getting the fiber required to create clinically effective molecular hydrogen for our bodies. Mick, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we do produce the hydrogen, as Dr. Greg said, when we digest fiber. And when we ingest the fiber, uh, we don't oftentimes get enough of the fiber to be able to make much hydrogen. And our GI digestive tract is typically so inflamed that we're not able to generate the hydrogen that's needed. So, what we encourage our patients to do also when they're able to breathe in this amazing hydrogen gas is also drink hydrogen water. And it takes only 30 seconds to make this hydrogen water. And one can drink it. And once, if anybody ever sees the difference between regular water and hydrogen water, they really would never drink regular water ever again. But what the hydrogen water does is it is so antioxidative and anti-inflammatory that when you drink it, it neutralizes the gut biome, helps promote the gut flora of anaerobic bacteria, and also it helps suppress the inflammation throughout the digestive tract. So it allows you to absorb the nutrients from your food and supplements at a much higher rate and much easier, and at the same time eliminates a lot of the GI distress issues that people are oftentimes facing when they have these neurodegenerative issues because of their age, and over the years everything gets inflamed. So they're able to get tremendous benefits from uh, typically IBS related symptoms like constipation, loose bowels, stomach being upset all the time, uh, you know, having regurgitative type symptoms, things of that nature.
It makes sense. So, let me ask. So, what are some ways people can commonly get the hydrogen gas? Would they inhale it? Would they drink it? I've seen there are pills you can get with hydrogen. Which of those do you recommend?
Basically, hydrogen water has been the focus of most of the studies that have shown amazing results. Now, in spite of the fact that they've shown amazing results, there's very little hydrogen in water and in those tablets. A tablet, think of one tablet as being as equivalent to a glass of hydrogen water. So, that being said, hydrogen water uh, is beneficial for general well-being and for the specifically for the gut and the digestive tract. Now, in just 15 minutes of breathing the hydrogen, you're getting more hydrogen molecules than drinking over 1,000 glasses of hydrogen water. So you're getting exponentially more hydrogen, which will go directly into all the cells in your body. You have over 36 trillion cells in your body. They all need hydrogen. In 15 minutes, you're getting as many hydrogen molecules as you have cells in your body. Okay? Now, on top of that, we do have hundreds of mitochondria in each of our cells. Some of our cells have thousands of mitochondria, right? As in our brain, eyes, heart, and liver. So these thousands of mitochondria each need hundreds of hydrogen molecules to help accelerate the production of ATP, or the energy that the cells need, and also to help the cells do what they need to do while also facilitating very rapid oxidative stress reduction and inflammation reduction.
Got it. So, I think what I'm hearing you say is that the effects of molecular hydrogen are dose dependent, and the way to get the highest dose by a factor of 1,000 is to actually use the gas to breathe it in.
Yes, well, we have a different protocol for our neurodegenerative disease patients that works actually much better than any of the clinical studies. And that is not only to breathe it in, but also to use the headphones, where it pushes the hydrogen gas through the ear canal directly into the brain tissue, and thereby decreasing the buildup of plaque in the substantia nigra of the brain and suppressing inflammation throughout the brain tissue, and at the same time generating new brain cells.
That makes sense. And this may seem out of left field. Can you do intravenous hydrogen gas?
So there is saline hydrogen available. You can't do intravenous hydrogen gas because it wouldn't have a place to go.
I guess I would be worried it would cause an embolism or.
Yeah, no, that's not possible. So it's not recommended either. So, but the other forms, hydrogen inhalation. There's for specific joints. There is hydrogen, saline hydrogen that is able to be injected into the joints. Uh, you know, the gas is really the most powerful way of absorbing the hydrogen for our patients who are dealing with any kind of neurodegenerative condition.
And then absorbing it. So probably the easiest way to do is just to breathe it in through your nose. Is that a common?
Yes, yes. So breathe in through your nose. Like I said, our patients with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, they're not only able to breathe in through their nose, but they're also able to use the headphones either at the same time or one after the other, depending on what their schedule allows. But the real beauty is, you know, Dr. Josh, we as clinicians are always dealing with allowing patients to take things home or do things at home. The biggest challenge with patients is compliance, right? We can tell our patients everything in the world, but if it's not easy for them to do at home, then they're just not going to do it, no matter how much it's supposed to benefit them. It's a matter of convenience. It's a matter of time, things of that nature. But with this hydrogen inhalation, they can be doing anything while they're sitting down at their desk, watching TV, sleeping. I mean, you don't need to interrupt your sleep, but you can still get your hydrogen. So that's what's the real beauty of it. All you do is put it on and you're in business. Super easy.
That's awesome. And I think you mentioned that it's a good adjunctive therapy. What would be the order? I mean, because it sounds like there aren't side effects to it. You could just start it with other treatments that you may be doing for your brain condition.
Yeah, absolutely. There are zero contraindications. There's no drug interactions, and the safety profile is unmatched. There has never been, with over 2,900 studies currently in the books, there hasn't been a single incident of a overdose or side effect of any kind. And I have the hydrogen device here, and I have just this simple nasal cannula. I'm just gonna put it on like this, and I'm in therapy. That's how simple it is. Now I'm just breathing pure hydrogen gas, and I'm getting all the hydrogen I need to destroy all the oxidative damage, the inflammation throughout my body, boost my immune system, facilitate very rapid cellular detoxification, supercharge my mitochondria, and create new brain cells.
And just to be clear, you don't need to buy canisters of hydrogen. Actually, the machine will make hydrogen gas from H2O, from water, right?
Right, right. Yeah. So the device that comes straight from Japan that we've made available to your patients is a device that is a medical grade device that comes with a lifetime warranty, meaning that it will never break down. It'll never not produce 100% pure hydrogen. If there's ever an issue, we just give you a new machine. Super easy. And the machine, like I said, comes from Japan. It's a medical grade device with several ounces of platinum. Platinum alone is $1,400 an ounce, and this device has at least 2 ounces of it in there. And it's so easy to do. It comes with multiple attachments. One to make hydrogen water, which literally takes 30 seconds. So you're able to take any glass of water that you normally drink, put a simple diffusion rod with the air stone in it, drop it into the water. So basically, a little stainless steel rod drops into whatever you're drinking, whether it be a liter bottle or a glass of water or a gallon pitcher. It drops in, and in just a matter of 30 seconds to a couple of minutes, you have pure hydrogen water. So it's super easy. It also comes with the goggles for people who have macular degeneration, vision loss, Alzheimer, glaucoma, cataracts, things of that nature. Then the headphones are not only help for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, but also people who have suffered from stroke, people who are dealing with hearing loss, tinnitus of the ear, also people with migraine headaches. So it's suppressing that inflammation that's constricting the blood vessels. And so that's how it even helps with migraine headaches. And it's helping to regenerate the cells in the ear canal, the tympanic membrane, so that, and the cochlea, so that people that have lost their hearing in just a matter of 3 to 4 months, we are getting amazing results on people getting their hearing back.
That's awesome. So it's basically helping with regeneration of the brain, different parts of the brain. That is so cool.
Correct, correct.
Wow. So, what about have you seen hydrogen gas being used for prevention as opposed to trying to reverse conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there are a lot of benefits to hydrogen from a wellness perspective. It does improve performance significantly, which I'll ask Dr. Greg to talk about. He's the one that goes to the gym all the time. I don't personally, I just do my hydrogen when I'm working. I don't take any kind of supplements. I don't take any kind of, injections of any kind to optimize my health or anything like that. Because hydrogen is making everything that I'm doing, all the metabolic functions in my body, the best they can be. But Dr. Greg has some insights because of from a performance perspective. By the way, we do have professional athletes, especially in football and basketball, um, collegiate athletes that are using the hydrogen, and they're able to get tremendous benefits that I'll have Dr. Greg go into.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's two questions here. One is performance enhancement, and one is have we observed that molecular hydrogen assists in prevention? I would suggest to the second one, Dr. Hellman, yes, but how would we measure it, right? To the first one, I like to call molecular hydrogen the only performance enhancing drug that's not a drug. Okay, by supplying your body in general and your mitochondria specifically with this superfuel, you are enhancing your body's performance along resistance and cardiovascular levels almost immediately. Everybody is familiar with exercise with oxygen therapy, right? Try exercise with hydrogen therapy. Okay, it's astounding. I feel like Superman when I'm on a treadmill using molecular hydrogen inhalation simultaneously. After 72 hours of utilization of molecular hydrogen inhalation, 1 hour a day, twice a day, when I first got exposed to it, because I wasn't sure, if really what I was doing. We were brand new years ago. So I thought, oh, this is a good baseline. I increased my resistance, my personal record of resistance training about 15%, and I increased my cardiovascular time by about 30%. That was after 3 days. Okay, and so to if I was to guess or extrapolate why that was, it was because my mitochondria at that moment had been starving for this specific fuel that everyone is just taking for granted as a component of air and water that is completely not bioavailable. And this brings up a common question that we get. They're always asking Mick, well, isn't there hydrogen in water? No, it's bound to water. It's a water molecule. It's not bioavailable as hydrogen. It's available as water. And basic chemistry indicates that it's not there. And so you utilize a molecular hydrogen device like the hydroheal machine, and it comes with a special wand, which, as Mick mentioned earlier in the podcast, will infuse the water in literally minutes, if not a minute, okay, to total saturation. What does that mean? It means there's a finite amount of water molecules in the vessel, and each water molecule can only electromagnetically, through a physics force called van der Waals forces, hold on to a hydrogen in a very weak transient bond. It's neither an ionic nor a covalent bond for chemistry nerds like me. It's just a little electromagnetic frequency that holds it in stasis long enough for you to ingest it in water. Okay.
But for nerd talk, van der Waals forces are responsible for lizards being able to walk up walls. So it can be impressive.
And in water, the two things that decrease the van der Waals forces of molecular hydrogen are going to be, but by the way, thank you for reminding me of that, Dr. Josh. I just had a Spider-Man moment. Are heat and agitation. Heat and agitation will loosen the hydrogen from its hold. But our machine, which we have mechanisms of measurement. This is the beautiful thing. I don't know if you have that device there, Mick, but we have mechanisms of measurement where we could show that there's a vessel of water with no available hydrogen in it, and after 90 seconds, it has near full saturation of available molecular hydrogen that is immediately bioavailable. Okay.
And this is the device right here, by the way, if you can see it.
Yeah, we see it. All right.
It's got the footprint of a size of piece of paper. So wherever you can fit a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, you can fit the hydrogen device. So basically, on your kitchen counter, on your desk, wherever you can place a piece of paper is where you can fit the machine. And so the convenience of having it on your coffee table while you're watching TV, you can't get anything better than that.
I love it. Do you have any clinical stories of someone whose brain condition improved after using hydrogen?
I have two that are very personal. One, my mother is a board certified internist. She is one of the smartest people I know. She has iatrogenic induced dementia as a result of polypharmacy. And about 4 years ago, she stopped being able to really communicate with us in any kind of a meaningful way. She couldn't even remember her PIN number. When we first got exposed to molecular hydrogen, Mick was kind enough to let me take a machine over to my parents, and I had my dad place the molecular hydrogen earphones on her ears for 1 hour a day while she watched her favorite show, The Price is Right, with Drew Carey, who at the moment she thought was still Bob Barker, by the way, and after 4 months of exposure to 600 mLs per minute molecular hydrogen through the ear, she started speaking to my sister, who's an RN, and I in full sentences after 4 months.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Thanks for making it personal. And
And in our practice, we have so many patients that are doing the molecular hydrogen with the Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. And in typically in a matter of 3 to 5 months, we're actually seeing patients who are actually even terminal regain cognitive function. And then closer to 4 to 6 months, we're seeing an improvement in motor function.
so, Mick, this is such an amazing field that's grown up just in the last 20 years. What excites you the most? Coming down maybe the pike in the next 6 months to a year. I mean, this is super exciting already, but or Dr. Greg, are there other twists or turns or that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that so one of the things that we're exploring is the use of stem cells with hydrogen to amplify the effectiveness of the stem cells by 300% plus. So basically, the problem with stem cells, and they're amazing for neurodegenerative conditions if they're able to be activated and differentiate and pop and flourish. The problem is most of the body and most of the tissue is so um, inflamed and dealing with oxidative damage that it's kind of like injecting stem cells into a battlefield where all of the half the troops are dead by the time they land, and the other half are dead, in the process of the next few minutes. So instead of them landing into a battlefield, what if they can land into the land of milk and honey, the Garden of Eden, and they can actually flourish and activate and differentiate, and they're able to actually turn into brain cells much faster, turn into other cells throughout the body that can improve neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia.
That's awesome. And yeah, I've seen good results with exosomes that can be produced by stem cells. And I'm looking forward to using molecular hydrogen gas therapy with exosomes to maximize the effect.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be a huge improvement in very severe cases of neurodegenerative conditions.
So, Dr. Helman, I actually caught one of your TikToks last night where you were giving a talk. It looked like in a YMCA or something, and you were talking about longevity escape velocity basically to the crowd, where you said, the way that the science looks, it's maybe 20, 30 years out. But the reality is you're being, in my opinion, you're being very conservative. Okay, longevity escape velocity, meaning the human being will gain 1 year of life for every year lived based on our technology, was, according to Time Magazine, Singularity University, Ray Kurzweil, SENS Institute, 2045. However, because of the compression, the exponential compression of time, because of the dawn of AI, everyone, all of these people that I just mentioned have recalculated it to 2035 for the 1 year. Okay, Ray Kurzweil, the father of this, says by 2030, longevity escape velocity will escape 4 months for every year of life if you're alive and you have the resources to access this new technology, utilizing molecular hydrogen as the foundation to bridge, right? Bridge to a bridge to a bridge. Nobody's expecting to take a leap, right, from normal to immortal, right? But there are identifiable bridges where we can identify and affect physiologic biomarkers that we can measure, and we can reverse biological age right now. That's the exciting part to me.
And in line with Dr. Greg just said, there was a study that just came out a few years ago, Dr. Josh, whereby in a matter of just 6 months, healthy 70-year-olds who are drinking very, very high concentrations of hydrogen water were able to realize an improvement of their telomeres, which are the end caps of the chromosomes that determine essentially your biological age, right? In a simplistic manner, they were able to lengthen their telomeres over the placebo group by 15% in 6 months.
Let's think about the relevance of that. There is no other therapy, and we've been chasing this telomere rabbit hole for some time, Dr. Hellman. Okay, we've been chasing this telomere rabbit hole, and molecular hydrogen has the only clinical data to support elongation of telomeres, as Mick said, up to 15%. It's the only therapeutic agent shown to do that consistently and effectively.
Wow.
And
And
it's
That's
the
really
and
exciting.
the
dirt cheap.
protocol that they were using is a, a fraction of the amount of hydrogen that they're able to get with inhalation.
Wow. So the potential is even better.
Yeah,
That that
100%.
is that
Yeah.
that is so exciting.
Yeah, our
Wow.
technology right now is far superior than every single clinical study that was ever done.
That is so cool. Dr. Greg, can you summarize, because we've covered a lot of topics, but specifically for the brain, how would you summarize the effect of molecular hydrogen H2 on the brain for people who have brain problems, whether it's Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, other dementias?
Thank you, Dr. Hellman, for that opportunity. If we can agree that chronic inflammatory states and out of control inflammatory cytokines are a common denominator in neurological and brain dysfunction, then we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that utilization of appropriate dose, concentration, frequency, and molecular hydrogen is going to arrest that. So right there, If that's all it did was arrest this out of control chronic inflammation that's causing these downward spirals that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we couldn't do anything about. Okay. It's magnificent. But secondary to that, it is providing your brain in general, but your mitochondria specifically, with the gasoline necessary to power the engines of repair, restoration, and optimization. And that is how I would sum it up.
That is so exciting. Um, how can people find you? I know you gave these codes ALZ 300, ALZ 600 for a discount on some of these devices. But first of all, how can people find you in the real world?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Josh. So we have a website, hydroheal, HYDROHEAL.com, and we have an Instagram with the same name. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to share with them my email. It is Mick, Mick, at hydroheal.com. And please feel free to send me any questions that you might have. We do have a special code for patients who are dealing with neurodegenerative diseases. It's called ALZ 600 for our 600 device. Um, you're talking about having hope when you have no other options, and this is what it's going to give you. So we have the H8600, which is the recommended device, which most of Dr. Helman's patients can benefit from. That's 6,500, but with the code, you get a $500 discount. And we have the HH300 for those people that are budget conscious and don't mind needing to do a lot more, double the amount of inhalation to get similar results, and being limited to doing only one thing at a time. They can get a $250 discount with the ALZ 300 code. And those codes are already active on the website. So, but if, and as most people will have many questions, they can always email me and I will call them back. I will go ahead and share my phone number because I share with all my patients also. It is 212-777-0187. If anybody would like to text me, if they prefer that route, I can give them a call back the same day.
That's awesome. Are there any questions I should have asked, but neglected to ask you guys?
There are a lot of areas of where the hydrogen can help, but I think that with your audience being more interested in Alzheimer's and similar neurodegenerative conditions, I think that you've covered everything that needs to be covered.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank both of you, Dr. Greg and Mick, for not just being here today, but also for being willing to invest your time and energy in this exploding field to give, frankly, to give people hope in a world that doesn't seem to see all these amazing advancements. So I want to salute you and thank you for your effort and determination in what can be a difficult time.
Thank you, Dr. Josh, and we also appreciate all the things that you do, and all the people that you're able to help. And by the way, everybody that I've spoken to, just like I think that you're going to get the Nobel Prize at some point. Yes.
You're very sweet. Well, thanks for that, and that's awesome. So, all right, that's Peace and Plants. That's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.